So, hello and welcome to the stream here on the Trackstars YouTube channel. My name's Adam Weller. First time me taking over this channel for the first round of the Trackstars, the Formula Trackstars series. We're just taking you on a track guide. First chicane there. Be careful on the power in these Super Formula cars, the Formula Trackstars machines with absolute full power, unlike the Formula 2s we had earlier on. Another corner here where you've got to be very careful on power application, especially as your tyres wear. The Fast S's, of course, very fast in these cars. The car's absolutely planted courtesy of the high levels of aerodynamics. Early on the brakes there, but I'm not one of the pros in this series. Of course, the infamous, as it's now known, Death Chicane is next. It's flat out in these cars, just not in my hands. Under the bridge we go, or through the tunnels, I probably should say. Into the last turn, probably one of the best braking spots here. On the power, out of the final corner, and then let's run through the chicane at speed as well at the end of this straight and kink, because of course this is another excellent overtaking opportunity if you're in the draft. Be careful not to run it too wide in the first element, because you saw there it just spoils your run through the whole corner. But that is a lap and change of Dragon Trail Seaside. In these cars, I need to exit circuit because we are just a few moments away from starting the racing action. We have RoboSport there with the GTR pace car. That's a rather handy looking piece of equipment supplied by EBM Elite Brake and Mechanical, judging by the graphics. So then a change of microphone settings and we are ready for racing. Great to be back around the Trackstars guys for another season. Of course, if you're familiar with me from previous events, I did used to host the Trackstars Touring Cars over on my Twitch channel. However, courtesy of a little bit of fighting with equipment and the like, we have managed to get me on the YouTube channel along with the rest of the Trackstars lineup. The Formula Trackstars, of course, the signature series along with the touring cars for the Trackstars guys. This is my first time streaming on YouTube, so I will be keeping an eye on the comments, and hopefully everything is staying straight and true on the stream, but please let me know if that's not the case. This is somewhat of a on-the-move experiment, so please do let me know if things are a little bit worse for wear at all. It's this car. Oh, we can't actually have a look at him at the moment, but I was trying to show you Spud, N-Spud P666, who of course is the defending champion. Some new names as well, some new handles as well. I don't think Jaxi123 was a part of the last season, to my knowledge, but some excellent livery as always on the Trackstars cars. DJ SX pointed. A driver who we're familiar with, a driver who's really shot up the rankings, hypothetically, in Trackstars competition. Number 24 car, certainly worthy of a good points haul. The former likely Wiseacre has gone through something of a shake-up. He is now SDRT Wiseacre. Car number 144, sporting what almost looks like a recycled 2019 Toro Rosso livery. Very much looking forward to seeing how he does. Another driver with plenty of skin in the Trackstars game is just in at 9:30. Who now looking forward to seeing. And of course, Huso 16, another driver we're familiar with here, wearing the Bez Media colours on his side pods of the Dallara SF19 machine, just kicking up some grass there as he makes his way through the S's. Of course, into the evening over in Australia. For myself in the UK, it is the morning. We're one mocha and one breakfast down and ready for some racing action on a Sunday morning. Moment, a few drivers not on circuit. There's Punts in the 47. There's a driver we can expect to do well. Driver with lots of history, of course. Larox 22. There's a man that we are also very familiar with. Larox, of course, a long-time entrant in the Trackstars touring cars with his wonderful Nissan factory colours representing the RoboSport team. Factory Nissan colours wouldn't quite look right on a Honda-powered Dallara, so things have had to take a slight switch up, but that's okay. If you're interested in settings, let's take a look at the race settings here. My apologies, my throat is a little bit croaky. 38 laps of racing. The tyre wear situation, 3 and 1. Now, the softs, mediums and hards are all eligible. Not just eligible, but mandated in this series. So 8 laps have to be completed on each compound of the 38 lap distance. Now, with 3 times tyre wear, I'm expecting most of the race to be done on the softs. But stronger heads than me may go in a different direction. So then, racing and the preceding 10-minute qualifying session will be underway shortly. I understand there is some scrabbling being done over at the It's Racing virtual garage, as It's Racing himself does not have a teammate as of this speaking. Definitely wouldn't want me to do the hero stint. Just changing my thing, my game to kilometers per hour for the benefit of the Aussie audience. Of course, never running that usually myself. Michael Levy says, good luck, Little Blacko and Lurox22. Go Robo Sports. Robo Motorsports. And of course that's good to see. Support for one of the teams and their driver lineup. QE97 on screen, aptly driving the 97 car. Can only assume that he's a fellow 1997 vintage human being. Prominent Honda postage on his rear wing. Don't think we have the defending champion out there on circuit just yet. Spud in the pit lane for Mash Spuds Racing, of course. Mash Spuds drivers Punts and Spud, two very, very quick competitors who we expect to do great things. There's one of the EBM Motorsport entries, SMitch 8084, of course, who is a great supporter of the series. Not just this series, but the Trackstars package as a whole. Car number 477. We allow triple digits here in the Trackstars series and events. Here's SDRT Wiseacre completing a lap on the softs, about a third of the tank of fuel down. Best lap so far, a 120.967. What can he do this time by? It's a 121.282, so right within the ballpark he'd want to be in. Let's see if he can improve it this time by in the Shaden Racing entry. Of course, that is what the SDRT means, Shaden Racing Team, so likely Wiseacre has had a rebrand for this season. Almost flat out there, if not entirely flat out, through the first element of those S-bends. The S's here at Seaside, arguably more fearsome in a reverse configuration, but still a great challenge in the main forward direction. Oh, Wiseacre there getting slightly spooked by, I believe that was Jaxie who was sideways there. Has bailed on the lap as a result. So here's Huso at the top of the sheets at the moment. Very striking silver and red Bez Media livery. Kind of looks like one of the Verizon Indy cars. Or perhaps like a 200-mile-an-hour can of Coors Light. Here in the commentary box, we are just going to seize this opportunity to prepare some additional fluids for the 38-lap race. We'd planned everything but a drink, so we're going to take a quick break in the commentary box, only for about a singular minute, and we'll be back, hopefully, with qualifying in the immediate offing. So we've seen the addition of JMX into the room, but we also just seem to lose Mitch a couple of minutes ago, though we do seem to now have 15 cars on circuit, and with me in the room, that should mean everyone is here. So a full house now with us by the looks of it. Of course, it is 14, owing to this fine EBM liveried Nissan GTR in the hands of RoboSport. So 14 cars, 2 from each team, fairly evenly matched stuff. So the teams here, Mash Spuds, RoboSport, It's Racing Esports, Shaden Racing Team, EBM Motorsports, CP Motorsports, and Pit Lane Esports. No prizes for guessing what Mitch is a part of, EBM S Mitch, if that doesn't give it away. He is a part of the EBM Motorsports team, along with QE97, N-Spud and Punts are the representatives from Mash Spud Racing. Little Blacko, who is now out there on circuit in the number 17 car. Although it does look as though he's got the number 14 on the side of it, so we'll have to remember to call that as the 14, not the 17. Apologies in advance if I don't achieve that at times. But yes, Little Blacko and Lurox representing RoboSport, so representing the safety car driver. That's kind of like having burned Mylander entering a team in Formula 1. It's Racing Esports was set to have Dead 23 Pool 12, but it looks like he's been replaced by JMX in a last-minute change of personnel. Of course, he is alongside It's Racing, and happily It's Racing just confirming to me that JMX is representing Dead 23 Pool 12 this evening. Justin 930 for Shaden Racing, and Wiseacre alongside him in cars 26 and 144 respectively. CP Motorsports represented by VPAPA AT and Huzo Jaxi, and DJ SX Pointed representing Pit Lane Esports. And sure enough, the cars now exit pit lane. We are ready for our first qualifying session of the 2021 season of the Formula Trackstars Series, the Croatian Grand Prix here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Of course, one of the most prolific fantasy circuits on GT Sport. If you want to fill up an open lobby on this game, your best bet is to open up at Seaside and watch everyone flow in out of what I guess is the opposite of curiosity. It's stasis, isn't it? But still a great circuit, a challenging circuit, one that really grabs your car by the scruff of its neck. Now we have a fairly staggered season here. We've got 13 rounds plus a non-championship oval event to take in between February and December. February and December, the two, the first and last round respectively. We have a month's gap between this event and the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, so plenty of time for these drivers to build themselves up. Justin 930 clearly wants to get started on his hard tyres because he's been on the hards in the first lap of qualifying and is now back out on the softs. That is a valid strategy that I think we'll see out of a few people. Huzo, meanwhile, on his first flying lap in the silver and red car, he's going to be the first man across the line to register a fast lap, in theory, so long as the lap goes relatively well. through the S-bends once again, with Wiseacre not too far off. Wiseacre with, I think, It's Racing and Papa AT for company as they head over the crest, down the hill and into that ever-treacherous braking zone where it's so easy to just go a step too far. All four of them there pretty much in a pack now as they run through this section of circuit. You don't want to follow cars closely through the death chicane, but that is exactly what's happening. The beach there with the umbrellas up, the parasols. Someone going a bit wonky there. That was Wiseacre, I think, just clipping the barrier, but everyone made it through relatively intact. Looks like we've got some lag on screen there. It's Racing with the issue there, although it might just be me, what with being in the United Kingdom while these guys are in Australia. Does tend to have that effect. JMX across the line there with a 1:18.863, which puts him at the top of the order. That's amazing stuff from JMX. Bear in mind, he wasn't meant to be here. He's here essentially as a favour for It's Racing in the 11th hour. And well, that's the mark of a good friend, isn't it? Certainly the mark of a great teammate. Let's try and find Jaxie. In fact, no, it's not Jaxie I'm looking for. I believe it was Justin 930, in fact, who came in for the hards on his first lap, if memory serves correctly. 6 minutes of the session left to go. Look at that overtake button usage. The overtake button being worn down. So interestingly, fuel burn is on by the looks of it in this session as well, so times are only going to get quicker from here. JMX pushing the limits there. .1:19.041 from Justin, so that's a good first lap on the board. Lurox just ahead of him, second fastest at the moment on also a 19.041 on my screen. If that's correct, then they've had quite the session thus far. JMX runs it wide there as they approach the end of the first sector. Currently 0.03 of a second off his own best, and actually just behind the third and second place drivers. Does look as though we're having a little bit of lag between continents here, so hopefully that doesn't quell the viewing experience too badly, but there's only so much I can do from several oceans away. 0.2 up in the middle sector is JMX. JMX enters the final turn. He was 0.2 up. Let's see what it is across the line. Just crosses now 1:18.664, and just ahead of him Lurox and Justin 930 auto setting times, and it's Lurox who sets the best of them, a 1:19.659 to go to the top of the timing sheets in car 22. Also putting a new time on the board there is EBM S. Mitch. 477 car in 11th place, just behind the teammate, in fact, QE97. There is QE. 3 minutes and 35 seconds of the session left to run before we form the grid and go racing here for 38 laps of this Dragon Trail circuit. 38 laps of Formula Trackstars action for the Croatian Grand Prix. Is this a flying lap again from JMX? Doesn't look like it based on the stopwatch. Crosses the line nonetheless. Another improvement from Justin 930. The top three all within a tenth here. One driver that I'd expect to be higher up right now is this man, N-Spud, the defending champion, the #1 car, down in 7th place at the moment. Let's see if this lap is an improvement. Looks like it could well be. Crosses the line, goes 4th on a 118.799. It's Racing also moving up the board there on a 118.961. So Spud onto the second row, but I'd still expect a little more from the man. Let's see if there's any more speed to come out of this car. We'll follow him for this lap. The Toyota-powered Super Formula machine, the Dallara chassis. Of course, Dallara providing chassis for so many different series out there in the real world, not just these Super Formula cars. Of course, also play a part in developing the Haas chassis in Formula 1. They provide the IndyCar chassis in the US exclusively, and of course the Formula 2 and the Formula 2 cars, of course, being provided as well. In past years, they were also responsible for the World Series by Renault cars, among plenty of others. The Audi R18 Le Mans program as well. Some serious lag here, unfortunately, at the moment, which will have more to do with my internet than anything else, unfortunately. It's been slightly patchy recently, so hopefully it holds itself together for the 38 lap duration. Just one more flying lap for Spud by the looks of it. He's got half a second to find. Has Justin 930 got anything else in his arsenal in the Shaden Racing car? Sounds to me like both of them just backing off a bit here. I think they're going for one more final lap. JMX with him as well. Don't think we're going to see any backing off from Spud. Again, taking liberal use of the overtake button, as is expected in qualifying. Out of the final corner, or out of the final corner of the second sector, I should say. He's almost 3/10 clear of himself. A good run through this last corner could put him further up the grid. Of course, the top three are all very close together, but Justin 930 not that far up the timing sheet from him. Lurox 22 just bettered the best time of the session with a 117.997, so beneath the 118 barrier he goes. Spud's final lap is a 118.189, goes second on the grid. Lurox and Spud, that would be a great front row. Also improving in the late going, Papa AT in one of the Bez Media entries. The number 4 car in 3rd place. Everyone else trundling across the line. Is there any late pace happening? It's Racing on a flying lap by the looks of it. Wiseacre improves to 119.839, but that's not good enough to be in the top 8. Let's see what It's Racing does. Again, wearing what reminds me of Jaguar colours, the green and gold wheels, as was the case last year. The 95, the number of one Lightning McQueen. Can he use that number to take the Trackstars equivalent of the Piston Cup this season? Overtake button being deployed. He's just missed the apex there at the final corner. How much time will that have cost him? Will it be good enough for an 18.961 to be beaten? No. A 119.853. I believe that's it for flying laps. Safety cars there on circuit. RoboSport. That is the end of the session, and what a front row. Lurox and Spud getting ready at the front of the order for 38 laps of racing. What a grid of cars. Ignore the safety car, don't worry about that. It won't be there for too long. But we have 14 cars on the grid. We were expecting 14 to take the start, but it looks like someone has disconnected there. Not sure whom has gone missing. Red flag has been put out, so we've lost somebody. So this session is now voided. This is not the start of the race proper. They're waiting for somebody to come back in. Let's see if we can work out who has gone missing. Didn't notice anyone drop out during qualifying, but that's not an indicator that no one did. Somebody has gone missing. We're now back up to a full quota of 16. So I'm not certain what happened there. Whether someone left accidentally, which would be a slight faux pas. Ah, Jaxie. Okay. Oh dear. Right, okay. So then, some information on the ground there from DJSX Pointed. I believe most of them are in a party together, or at least with their concurrent team cars. Some drivers electing to take any extra shred of practice they can get. AT straight back on the throttle out there on circuit, although that is a wide line, sir. Oh, and that is a spin. So then the final will begin in 5 seconds. The grid will remain the same. Hopefully a full quota of 14 cars taking the start here at the seaside in Croatia. The Croatian Grand Prix. My name's Adam Weller. Very excited to be bringing you this race live from the world of Gran Turismo Sport, from the Trackstars organisation, Formula Trackstars. Round 1, the Croatian Grand Prix about to get underway. It's Lurox and Spud on the front row, AT and the late replacement JMX on the second row of the grid. And they are underway. Looks like it's slightly too much wheel spin for Lurox, so it's Spud who leads. They're all clean underway as the race begins here, and it's Spud with a perfect start. JMX with a good one as well, up to second place, but he got the outside line into the first corners. There's some contact amongst them as they go through the first chicane, but it looks as though everybody has got through in one piece. Look at that. There's cars on the grass. There's cars all over the show as they thread the needle through the end of the first sector. It's JMX there with a wheel on the grass in second place, and it's Spud, the defending champion, the number 1 car, at the head of the order in the early going here at Dragon Trail Seaside. The Croatian Grand Prix is underway. Lurox 22 started on pole position on the very front of the grid, and he's down to 4th place and under pressure from Papa AT, and it's racing as they dive down into the section preceding the death chicane. And look at this middle pack here, led off by Little Blacko, 7th through 12th place, all pretty much together. Are they all going to make it through the chicane in one piece? It looks as though they have. Always difficult when you're in someone else's slipstream. QE97 has not had a good first lap, and there's the safety car making its way back towards the pit lane area. Spud then on the racing soft tyres in first place. Medium tyres on my screen, at least, for JMX. So the toll-backed number 16 car, I believe that is, in second place. 18 car, my apologies. JMX in second place here. Funny enough, wearing Mash Spud's racing colours, but representing its racing. So, a late draftee from the Formula 2 series here, wearing some unfamiliar colours. Wiseacre in P3 then, Shaden Racing Team. running P3, the 144 car. Lurox 22 there in 4th place. Just seems to be recovering slightly from that mishap-laden start to the race. Little Blacko there in 5th. Papa AT in 6th. And it's racing down in 7th. So Blacko's made up some positions there on the 2nd lap in the 14 car. Look at this pack of cars now that's forming behind JMX, who is the only one on mediums until we get to Papa AT in 6th. So Wiseacre here in 3rd place on the soft tyres. Fairly easy move. I think JMX may have lifted out of the throttle a little bit there to allow that to happen. Wiseacre it is then in P2. JMX still running very hard on the medium tyres, of course. 8 laps on each compound of tyre is required in this race. So softs, mediums and hards on offer. And look at JMX there getting all into the rear of Wiseacre's car. But that's going to allow Lurox 22 to make the attacking move. He has to go to the outside line. Great reactions from Lurox later on the brakes and moves into P3. Our pole sitter is making his way back up the order. He's now going to challenge for 2nd place. If he gets a good run through the chicane, he might be able to make it at the next corner. JMX there, very close to hitting the wall. And look at Lurox there in the slip of Wiseacre. Is he going to make it around the outside again in 2 consecutive braking zones? He's got the grip. He's got the line. They're still side by side. He's got a nose ahead. He is into 2nd place. Great stuff from Lurox 22. So Lurox into P2 now in the 22 car. Wiseacre still there in 3rd place, but there comes JMX. Doesn't matter that he's on medium tyres, apparently. He's still fighting with these guys on the softs, and Wiseacre there gets loose, gets a wheel on the grass, has to hesitate on the throttle, and that allows JMX back through. He's so competitive, even on these medium tyres. Here comes Little Blacko now on the attack from Wiseacre. They're side by side through the final part of the S's. That's no mean feat in itself. Probably harder in a GT car than one of these super formulas, but it's still difficult. JMX, they're very early on the brakes. Wiseacre extremely late on the brakes, and there's a check of wheels between the two of them. Wiseacre through into 3rd, Little Blacko through into 4th, and JMX demoted to 5th in one fell swoop. The action is barely I'm barely able to keep up with the action. It's so fast here. Barely able to get my words out as well. Blacko on the inside for P3 makes that stick. It's quite the battle royale here in the final step of the podium. Wiseacre now under pressure. JMX being swamped by Wiseacre's teammate, Justin 930. But Justin seemingly there not with the run. I think JMX may have used a little bit of overtake there to try and seal or retain 5th place. Justin in 6th and Papa AT there in 7th. JMX again having to deal with pressure. Oh, but again, it just looks like he's a little hesitant on the brakes, a little earlier than the others, and Justin 930 dispatches him. JMX down to 6th, and now Papa AT is on his tail. Papa is also on the medium tyres. So JMX has eventually ended up where we'd expect him to be, behind some of the soft runners, but it's taken a while to get there. Let's check in back at the front of the order. It's 3.5 seconds. The gap between Spud and Lurox. Our front row back in the top 2, but in reverse order. Spud took a little while to hook it together in qualifying. But once the race started, he was off the standing start like a scalded cat, and it is fairly difficult to launch these Super Formula cars. Of course, turbocharged motors. Lots of torque, lots of power. You've got to factor in potentially using the overtake button as well, although on my screen it looks as though Spud is yet to use any of his overtake. A quarter of the overtake boost system has already been used here by Lurox on my screen in the first of the RoboSport entries. Of course, RoboSport also in third place, courtesy of Little Blacko, followed by the two Shaden Racing Team cars, Justin 930 and Wiseacre. Now, where is the sister car to Spud? Punts. He is in 9th place. Just kicking up some dust there in the 47 car. So the mashed Spuds having a rather mixed bag of a race so far, but It's Racing having a fairly lonely time of it as well, in 8th place in the It's Racing Esports entry. Of course, just a couple of positions ahead of him is his drafted in hot shoe JMX. Still the battle of the medium tyre runners, and side by side for third place it's Justin 930 and Little Blacko, and it's Justin who's made the move stick into the final corner, but now it's going to be Little Blacko with the slipstream. But look at how much boost Justin 930 has used already well under half a tank of the overtake boost left to use. Blacko around the outside at the first chicane, but Justin covers it off. Justin 930 could find himself in a bit of a sitting duck position later in the race, though. Where's Blacko on the boost comparatively? Well, he's still got over 3/4 of a tank, so that overtake boost situation could become interesting as the race wears on. Wiseacre, meanwhile, despite being on the soft tyres, is not pulling away from JMX or Papa AT particularly. So 5th, 6th and 7th place, still running more or less line astern. The gap between the top two seeming to be relatively consistent, just around the 3.5 second mark, depending on lap-to-lap performance. A little bit slower that time for N-Spud, but staying in the 120s throughout his stint so far, just getting a wheel on the grass again. We're now on to lap 8 of the race, so I'm expecting JMX and Papa AT to consider a pit stop sooner rather than later. JMX on the defensive. It's Racing there in 8th place has put in some hot laps and is now right on the back of them in this battle for 6th place. He is also on the medium tyres. He has used a negligible amount of boost, while Papa has used none. Rather more has been burnt away by JMX. Little Blacko now down to 5th place, so Wiseacre's made up a position there. Can only assume that's a mistake from Blacko. But It's Racing potentially setting up for a move for P7 here on Papa AT. It's the 4 versus the 95. The 95 has the inside line, has the nose ahead, and has the position. Oh, but immediately trying too hard to get the throttle down. They're still side by side, but it will be It's Racing with a good catch there, holding on to P7. Side by side as they head down towards the final corner, the last braking zone of the lap. Will anyone peel into the pits this time? JMX may consider it, doesn't. It's Racing and Papa AT, though, do make a pit stop. So this will be very interesting indeed. Fuel use between the two of them is about equidistant. Now, do they get onto the hards now? Yes, they do. Both of them onto the hard tyres, as one would realistically anticipate. Come out in 10th and 11th places respectively. Back into the battle for 4th place, and Wiseacre has been overtaken by JMX. JMX, I can see why he's not moved off the mediums yet. These tyres are still working for him. Has just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:20.679. Must apologise as well if you heard some vocal stylings from my occasional co-commentator, Neil the Cat. He seems to get quite excited when I do these commentaries, so if you do hear from him, my apologies. Blacko and JMX 4th and 5th. Now let's see if JMX holds on again, or whether he makes a pit stop this time by. No, continues to lap around on these medium tyres. Of course, if he has to do less mileage on his softs later on, that's only going to be to his benefit. Gap is coming down slightly between Spud and Lurox. It's under 3 seconds now. Lurox has lapped slightly quicker last time by, 1:19.948 versus the 1:20.0 from Spud, which is Spud's fastest lap of the race so far, but on one lap pace certainly. Lurox has a little bit more in the tank at the moment. That's of course consistent with qualifying, as Lurox was on pole position. Number 22 car then. Running fairly lonely at the moment, but these drivers who started on the softs could find themselves in an interesting situation later on. There is presumably going to run somewhere into the 20 lap-ish district. And in doing so, they then of course have to use the hards and the mediums in the latter stages of the race. And so even though these drivers seem to be driving away from the rest of the pack at the moment, they could get swallowed as the race goes on, especially by the likes of JMX, who's really making these medium tyres work for him. Still right on the back of Little Blacko here for 4th place. Into the pits goes Jaxi123 in the 11 car, the Pit Lane Esports crew making that pit stop. Back out in 11th place. It's racing on the hards tyres, currently up in 7th, ahead of Huzo on the softs. Papa AT behind him, of course, the teammate car. Yeah, the Bez Media liveried entries. But Huzo on the softs, and the boys around him are on the hards. Certainly a strategic game key in this Formula Trackstars format with the tyre requirements. 8 laps on all 3 compounds. But of course, most of the race will be done on the softs for a majority of the drivers. Punts there in 9th place, just getting past Papa AT. Again, softs versus hards, you would expect it. Looks as though Punts is going to do some carving in the next few laps here. He's closing in on Huzo as well. And look at that, 1:19.723. That's front-running pace from Punts. He's on a fresh set of softs, so he's been in for a pit stop. Lap 12 of 38 and the 47 car. The sister car to the leader, the other Mashed Spuds entry, onto his soft stint. Now, will he be on the hards or the softs later? I'm not, the hards or the mediums later, I should say. I'm not entirely certain. Looking at his lap times, I'd suggest he was on the hards earlier on. Here he goes with Huzo. Straight around the outside of Huzo, but runs it a bit deep. Has to be careful there. On the cambered section. On the outside of the circuit. And here's his teammate. Spud pits in from the lead. Where will he come back out? In 2nd place by the looks of it. Where's Justin? Yes, Justin too far back to claim P2 on the road for the time being. But Spud is now on the hard tyres. So 12 laps out of those softs. One would assume they were just getting past their best then. He's now onto the hards, will likely do no more than 8 laps on these tyres. So it's going to be a difficult few laps here for Spud. I think Spud is a wise driver, though. Once drivers on the softs close in, I'm not so sure he'll be putting up too much of a fight, because of course that slows him down. Justin 9:30 and Little Blacko there running 3rd and 4th place still. Blacko slightly closer than he has been on previous laps to my eyes. Still on the mediums is JMX. He's putting in a great shift in the early going and going for a different strategy than most. Into the pits comes Lurox, the leader, responding in kind to end Spud. Now, where do they come out relative to one another? To get Spud's camera. There they are, side by side. And it is Spud who just holds on to the lead, but that gap is slightly down. They're now both on the hard tyres. Of course, a lap extra on the softs there for Lurox brings him closer to Spud. However, he's now going to have to do an extra lap on the hards whenever Spud pits in for his next set of tyres. So just because Spud is there, or just because Lurox is closer now, doesn't mean he's necessarily in the optimum seat at the moment. Long way to go in this race, though. Too early to be making judgment calls in regards to strategies. Blacko in 3rd place then in the sister Robbo Sports entry. They're in 3rd place. Again, the netcode with the UK-Australia connection here makes it very scary at the death chicane at times for these drivers, at least on my screen. Little Blacko continues on, so he's completely fine with the current levels of tyre wear on his set of softs. Justin 9:30 then in P4. Some BC Racing backing on the Shaden Racing team entry. Still on his softs as well. JMX still there on his medium tyres, running them deep into the stint. A reminder, he only has to do 8 laps on the mediums, but clearly he's gelling with this compound. In his Mashed Spuds Racing liveried car. Though of course he is deputising for It's Racing this weekend. Last minute draft into the team. Right now, he's the leading car among the squad. Wiseacre there, still in 6th place on his very worn softs. He's taken a lot more life out of them than some others. Although, I do think that Justin has should have made a pit stop, but it doesn't look as though he has. Justin seemingly doing very well at keeping those tyres fresh at this stage then. Top 2 still running very close together, 0.7 of a second, as it was a couple of laps ago, so gap remaining consistent between the two of them here. Spud and Lurox through the S's yet again. So at the moment they're blow for blow on these hard tyres. Little Blacko closing in slightly, but not currently enough to be a factor in the battle on track. Of course, he is currently a pit stop up on them, so regardless of his on-track position, he's not a factor in the lead battle for the time being. But that could all change as we continue on here. Michael Levy there saying JXO, I think he means JMX, may need to pit. Going too long on the mediums. We'll see. That could well be true. He's in now, so maybe he's listening. On to the hards for Lurox. or I should say Little Blacko, onto the softs for JMX. So potentially JMX going for the hard tyres in his final stint, which would slow him up considerably towards the end. So that could be an interesting strategy indeed from JMX into his second stint, and based on his pace on the mediums, I'm expecting some very rapid lap times in the next few moments. Lead battle, meanwhile, has closed up considerably. Lurox 22 has found a few tenths, or perhaps Spud has lost a few tenths. And they run through the chicane pretty much line astern. Lurox is not close enough to make a move into the final corner to my eye, and he agrees. But a good run onto this main straight could well set him up for a move at the first chicane. The two drivers on the hard tyres, our front row, our top two for a majority of the race thus far, coming to blows side by side almost as they go through the first kink, but Spud just clear, just ahead. Is Spud now eating away into his overtake button? Yes, he is. So that overtake button that was untarnished a little earlier on has now been used just a little bit. Justin 930 has been into the pit lane, and he has claimed himself a new set of hard tyres, down to 7th place as a result of that. Wiseacre having to defend for 3rd place. He's gone wide. Little Blacko with some oversteer there, side by side for 3rd place. It looks as though Little Blacko's made it through. He bounces over the curbs on his new hard tyres and has taken 3rd place, while Wiseacre on his worn softs is having a bit of a struggle at the moment. He certainly is due a pit stop before too long. Here comes Punts on much fresher soft tyres up to 4th place. Here's the magic of this tyre compound situation then. Punts, who was outside the top 8 just a little while ago, has used those softs to propel himself up the order as other pit stops have been made. Here are the top two continuing on in the same order in their hard tyres, and it looks as though Spud has just about covered off Lurox on this lap. The gap back up to 6 tenths. Punts, meanwhile, on the move. A reminder that Little Blacko here in 3rd place is on hard tyres, so I'm not expecting him to put up too much of a fight. Here comes Punts, and Little Blacko, I think they're just lifting out of the throttle a little bit. Or alternatively, Punts using his overtake button. Oh, but Punts there bounces it across the grass and the curbs. No damage, but that will have been a bit of an awakening. The equivalent of a double espresso to a racing driver, a moment like that. JMX there, of course, on his soft tyres. He's up on the move into 5th place. He's managed to get past Wiseacre and is now going to be tackling Little Blacko. Again, not expecting too much fight between the two of them. However, Blacko later on the brakes. It's not going to be that easy for JMX. Better traction out of the corner, though. And there is JMX through into 4th place. Purple in the 2nd sector, so JMX, as expected, showing some great pace on these softs. Punts again kicking up the grass. Has to be careful, of course, to avoid incidents on dirty tyres. So common and so easy. Fastest lap of the race on the board, a 1:19.299 for JMX, who's now on the warpath, looking to get past Punts, who of course is also on soft tyres, but is on a slightly older compound. He's been running those for a few laps. JMX's are more or less fresh out of the tyre warming blankets. So JMX in the wheel tracks of Punts. This could be a good battle. We've seen a couple of mistakes out of Punts in the last couple of laps. JMX has looked relatively on rails. Certainly closer this time as they head into the bottom bend here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Loop. But there goes JMX! I said he'd been on rails and he almost immediately derails. That's Another classic curse of the commentator moment. Him and Blacko there going side by side. Blacko ends up painting the Armco with the side of his tyre. And JMX there yields 4th place. And that was a heart-in-the-mouth moment if I've ever seen one. Just pushing it a step too far. Punts is into pit lane. 47 car in for a new set of tyres, but which compound will be on the car? It's a set of medium tyres for the Mashed Spuds Racing driver. Battle for 3rd place then. And JMX fighting Blacko. Blacko, of course, is on the hard tyres, so there shouldn't really be a matchup. But JMX putting a foot wrong at long last. We've seen him be pretty much clean all race. But that foot wrong has dropped him down to 4th once again. Or has dropped him behind Blacko once again. Of course, that was 5th place that he dropped to before the pit stop there for Punts. Here's JMX with a run towards bottom bend then. Still not quite that late on the brakes. It does strike me that JMX is a bit earlier on brakes than most drivers, but that gives him a great run out of the corner. And 3rd place is his, the superior traction of the softs coming in clutch for JMX on that occasion. And 3rd place is his, but will Little Blacko respond in kind as they head into the braking zone for the final corner? He's later on the brakes. He's packed through. He's not going to make this easy. Both Spud and Lurox in the pit lane, and both of them have moved on to medium tyres off camera. With 16 laps to go, that might be their final stops. But this battle for 3rd is currently slightly too engaging to move away from. JMX needs to find a way past Blacko, really, because, of course, he's not making the most of his soft tyre stint stuck behind a car on hards. This could be a critical moment for JMX in this race. If he cannot find a way past Blacko on the hard tyres, you can see he's all over the back of him, clearly has more grip and traction, but he's also just a bit of an early braker, and Little Blacko has been using that to his advantage. Again, later on the brakes from Blacko. JMX earlier on the power, but this time he tries to go around the outside and Blacko's car is there in the way. Overtaking is prohibited. Yellow flags. It's Lurox 22. Lurox 22 is one of the first ones to be bit by the death chicane, at least on camera, and he has front damage, axle damage. Wheels are out of alignment, so Lurox 22 is going to have to come into the pit lane, and this may well have handed the race to NSPUD P666. Certainly the advantage has been handed to the Spud. What a moment in the race then. Lurox 22, let's see where he filters out. Comes back out in 9th place. That's a big moment there for Lurox 22. Meanwhile, JMX and Blacko still going at it, and JMX has made it through into 2nd place. But he immediately runs it wide. However, the superior traction of the softs seemingly acting as a bit of a get-out-of-jail free card there, and he's finally up into 2nd place. But look at that on the side screen there. He came in on lap 16, outlap lap 17, a 22.5. He set 2 119s. Then he had that moment that put him behind Little Blacko, and since then he's been deep into the 120s, and on fresh soft tyres, he really needed to be setting the world alight on pace, as we know he can. But unfortunately, with Little Blacko right there with him, he couldn't do it. Blacko, I think, using some of his overtake boost, is right there with him again. He's going to dive up the inside back into 2nd place. JMX cannot catch a break here when it comes to Little Blacko. The pressure is being applied. And they're side by side now, down the main straight. Every time you think that Little Blacko has been dealt with, he comes back. He would be an excellent horror movie protagonist, Little Blacko. You just can't put him down. He's into 2nd place once more. Of course, this was a battle for 3rd place. But then we saw that moment for Lurox 22. The yellow flags at the death chicane were a giveaway that something had happened, and unfortunately it was Lurox whose scalp has been claimed by this infamous chicane at the Croatian Grand Prix circuit. We're catching up some back markers here. It's Mitch84 running in 14th place at the moment, so at the back of the order. Oh, and JMX again trying to use the better run out of the corner to take the position, and he's done it. He's got himself back into P2, but again, he's wasting time in this battle. He should be absolutely jetting around the circuit on his softs, but instead he's losing time hand over fist to Spud on the mediums. So JMX now finally given some reprieve. Little Blacko is into pit lane. So hopefully JMX can now set some fast laps, but will it be too little too late? Will he still be able to be on the podium? It's racing. His teammate, of course, is there in third place with Punts and Papa AT. All three of them, no, sorry, just two of them on softs. It's racing and Papa AT both on the softest compound, while Punts is on the medium. So both of the Mashed Spuds entries currently on the medium tyres. And at the moment, Papa AT needs to find a way past Punts, and he has done so. Is there a response from Punts? Looks to try and go the long way around the outside to stay side by side, but he isn't quite able to achieve that. Still pretty close though, could yet get a move done at the final corner. He's in the slip. Right into the shadow of the gearbox of Papa AT's car. Looks around the outside at the final bend. Oh, but he goes grass tracking and is very lucky to hold that together. It's not been a consistent race from Punts, it must be said. He's had a fair few feet wrong so far. And look at this battle. 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Justin 930 on his hard tyres is about to get swarmed by three medium runners. Wiseacre, Blacko and Lurox. Lurox, of course, on the recovery drive. Little Blacko just putting a nose alongside Wiseacre, and it looks as though he's got the position secured. So he is up to 7th place. He's now got to try and chase down Justin on the hard tyres. And Lurox 22 in this 9th spot, of course, was in 2nd place, now on the recovery drive. Can he get up to P8 here at the bottom bend? Just puts his front axle into the side pod of Wiseacre. Has a nose ahead, but Wiseacre's not giving it away. Has to back out eventually for the chicane. That's a single file affair, no matter who you are. Little Blacko has already closed up to Justin. Of course, Justin on the hard tyres, you would expect a performance deficit. Justin into the pit lane for what should be his final pit stop. Blacko will undoubtedly be running to the end as well on his set of mediums. Up to 6th place, could still get a top 5, could maybe even get a podium out of this, but it's still going to reek of a missed opportunity for Little Blacko. Or rather for Lurox 22, my apologies. I'm getting my Robo Sport cars mixed up. Lurox, with that moment, out of 2nd place. Could still, of course, make his way up the order, but it's going to be very much a what could have been. He was in the hunt for the lead. And unfortunately, the infamous death chicane here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit has claimed yet another victim, as it does so gainfully. So Justin 9:30 there in 9th place, onto his medium tyres for the final stint. Looks like he's rather low on fuel, but hopefully he's done his maths correctly. Here's our race leader then. 9.3 seconds clear is Enspud on his medium tyres. I imagine he's running them to the end. The number 1 Toyota-powered Dallara SF19, the current chassis of the Japanese-based Super Formula Championship. Sort of a halfway house between IndyCar and the world of Formula One. One of the most competitive championships in the world, the Super Formula category, and the Formula Trackstars series often proves itself to be just as competitive. Of course, we also have the Formula 2 class, which I believe streamed earlier on today. And they are also running the SF19 chassis. JMX under pressure, meanwhile, from It's Racing. Both drivers, I believe, running to the end on their soft tyres. And there goes It's on the overtake button through into second place. Now, I wonder if there's any element of team orders here, given JMX is the teammate to It's Racing. On a one-time only basis, the Nico Hulkenberg of Formula Trackstars by the looks of it. JMX. It's racing in the green, gold and white. Is into second place. I think JMX is simply going to play rear gunman here. He's not a factor in the championship. He's not set to be a team driver for the season. So you would expect him to simply hang back from his effective team boss, of course. The clue is in the name with the It's Racing team. It is very much the property of this man, It's Racing, who of course is also effectively the lifeblood of the series. Keeps things under control. And look at that, fastest lap of the race from It's Racing as JMX bails into the pit lane for another stint on the hards. In fact, no, he hasn't used his hards yet, of course. So JMX is now going to have to get his defensive shoes on for his final stint of the race. 8 laps on the hard to finish. Versus Little Blacko on the mediums, and Lurox on the mediums as well. Certainly JMX is going to have to get his elbows out to hold on to that 4th position. So that rear gunner that I was talking about for It's Racing has proven not to happen. The strategy is not allowing for it. The Cartel Equipment hire Dallara on its own with Papa AT not a million miles away. Both of these drivers rather anonymous in the early stages of the race and kind of the fringes of the top 8, but partly of course thanks to Lurox's moment and a few intense scraps further down the order. Oh, Papa there just going wide. But yes, thanks to consistent driving and some strategy play, they are now set to take podium positions. Of course, what would have been for JMX if his strategy wasn't disrupted by Little Blacko? Little Blacko on the hard tyres earlier on made life exceedingly difficult for at least a half dozen laps for JMX, and that is now paying dividends. Having held up JMX while Blacko was on the hards, Blacko is now closing in on the hard shod JMX. He's now on the softer medium compound, along with teammate Lurox22. And one would have to suggest it's not going to take long for this to become an outright battle. In fact, it already is one. But will JMX make it just as hard for Blacko as Blacko did for JMX just a few laps ago? He's immediately going defensive, of course.
the Robo Sport cars can gang up on him here. Again, JMX fairly early on the brakes, and that's allowed Blacko to immediately slip through. There's contact between JMX and Lurox. JMX there too early on the power, too eager on the power. Almost spun it into the wall. Instead, I should say, spun it into Lurox. But Lurox actually acted as something of a buffer there. Managed to keep JMX on the straight and narrow. But JMX, we were wondering if he was going to be able to pull off the defensive job. But unfortunately, within about half a lap, he has lost the 2 positions. But Lurox there on the grass has dropped it again. He's back down to 6th place. He's on the overtake button to try and get back into the slip and back into 5th place. He has a nose ahead. Will JMX make a dive into the first turn to try and keep hold of this 5th for a little bit longer? No. Cannot capitalise on the mistake there from Lurox 22. A heart-in-the-mouth moment for the RoboSport driver Lurox, who has obviously already had some grief in this race and came close to some further issues. But thankfully managed to keep the car straight and has managed to come back into 5th place now ahead of JMX. Lurox now has some work to do to close in on Little Blacko. Now, of course, RoboSport himself is sitting there in the pit lane at the moment in the GTR. And so he is going to be keeping an eye on this battle with very interested eyes, of course. And if Lurox does close in on Blacko, I think Robbo is the type of person who'd like to see them race, but he'd also like to see them not end up in a gravel trap together. JMX, though, is the immediate concern for Lurox, because Lurox has not been dropped, or has not been dropping JMX in the slightest, although it looks like a bad run out of that last corner for JMX has given Lurox just a bit of breathing room. And on the soft tyres, in 7th place, is Punts. That's a fresh set of softs as well. So Punts could yet make up not just 1, not just 2, but maybe even 3 positions. They're all within the same camera shot. And Punts is the only one on the soft tyres. Now, Punts has had a slightly mixed bag in terms of consistency here at Dragon Trail. Can't blame him. It's one of the most tricky circuits on the calendar. But can he keep it on the straight and narrow and continue his current impressive pace in this next few laps to make up positions? A 1:19.523 last time across the line. That is his fastest of the race so far. Just going to check in with the battle for 2nd place. The gap between them is 1.5 seconds, just going up a little bit there, in fact. But Papa and It's Racing at fairly even conditions at the moment, so it looks as though it has control of the situation for now. It's not developed into a battle just yet, which means we can switch back, and Punts, just while we were looking away there, has moved into 6th place. JMX will almost certainly respond immediately on his hard tyres. He doesn't really have any time to dawdle here. Despite being on the hard tyres, JMX is not coming quietly for anybody. Just looks to the inside, but has to, I think, accept it. Just gets on the dirt as well. And look at that, 0.7 of a second already. Punts has ended up taking 6th position. Now, he's going to be very interested in the battle ahead of him. These 2 RoboSport cars fighting for 4th place. Lurox on the inside has shown better pace so far this weekend, but of course had that moment at the Deshicade a few laps ago. He makes it up into 4th fairly easily. I think Little Blacko there saying, "After you, sir." The 2 elite-sponsored cars, the RoboSport Racing entries, resplendent in their silver, black and red. And Lurox, 15 seconds off the podium, so that's definitely not going to happen, but 4th place could well be in the offing. Of course, Little Blacko is still there and may yet be able to challenge, but both of them have to worry about this man, Punts. Punts on the soft tyres. with a little bit less fuel, certainly, than Blacko. 3.5 laps to go. He could yet close in on the pair from Robosport Racing. Let's look a bit further up the order. Back to Spud, who has not been getting too much TV time for the MASH Spuds Racing crew, but of course the checkered flag is more important. Looked like he had some company from Lurox 22 as the race developed. However, human error has played into the favour of Spud. The devilish potato himself, the defending champion. With another exemplary drive to this point in the Croatian Grand Prix here at Dragon Trail Seaside. It's racing into and out of pit lane. He needed a splash and dash there. And that's allowed Papa AT through into second place. 3.5 seconds the gap. I'm not sure that's surmountable. I'm sure Itz is going to be burning through his overtake button now to try and get to the back of Papa AT once more. And look at the gap shrinking. Of course, Papa... Oh, Papa's got damage. I don't know how that's happened, but Papa's got damage. He collects QE as well. I don't know what's happened there between Papa and It's Racing, but Papa, a 1:23.4 last time by. I don't know if they collided with one another. It's Racing went into the pit lane. Papa was slow and is now damaged. So quite what's happened here, I'm not certain. But certainly, I think there may be some debriefing going on after this race. Something for the stewards to look at by the pattern of it. Lurox, meanwhile, has broken free from Little Blacko, and Punts has dropped off the back of the Robo Sport cars somewhat. Papa AT has to come into the pit lane. Now the question is, did he do that on his own, separate from It's Racing, or was that part of the reason why It's came into the pits? Did they both get damage, but Papa decided not to pit? That would seem like a bizarre maneuver. Potentially Michael Levy there in the comments saying that It's Racing grabbed tyres. He did, but maybe that's what caused the issue for Papa. Yeah, maybe Papa just pushing too hard there on his worn softs to try and respond to It's Racing. I can certainly see that. An interesting theory there from Michael Levy, and a correct reaction there from Tom Winder as well. Ouch. Yes, definitely a blow late in the race here. So second last lap, and it looks as though most of the positions here have been decided. It's the final lap of the race for N-Spud. 19 seconds clear in the midst of all the drama. It's been a stellar race once again from N-Spud, the defending champion. Of course, the double champion also has the crown in the Trackstars Touring Cars Series. What a way to kick off a new season. The Croatian Grand Prix has been dramatic at times, but none of the dramas have been coming from the cockpit of the #1 car. Exemplary performance from Spud. Just one corner between him and the checkered flag here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Out of the final turn. And across the line to take the Croatian Grand Prix, the first race of the season, goes to the defending champion. N-Spud P666 takes it. It's Racing in second place, only 2.3 seconds up the road from Lurox 22, but second place is with the It's Racing competitor for his own team. Crosses the line in second place. The third place for the recovering Lurox 22 could have been second, could have even been a win, but Lurox has to settle for third ahead of Little Blacko. Punts across the line in fifth in the other Mashed Spuds car. Papa AT recovering to sixth position. With his late race dramas causing him grief, and I think JMX may have had an issue on the final lap there. He comes across the line with damage in 7th place. So dramas right down to the final lap. Justin 930 just takes 8th place ahead of Fuso. I think JMX may have found the chicane on the final lap. The wall of the death chicane may have claimed one last scalp on the final lap. 10th and 11th for Jaxie. And disappointed, or DJ SX pointed. DJ SX pointed taking 10th. Jaxie in 11th. Wiseacre takes 12th. 13th to EBM Esmich 84, who was a lap down. And QE 97 in the other EBM entry, finishing 14th place. So that is the completed race, and it is Spud who takes the win for the Mashed Spuds Racing outfit. For himself, an early championship lead and a stellar beginning to his championship defense. Of course, wearing the Lexus Gazoo Racing outfit, again Toyota powered this Dallara, and will no doubt be in the Lexus in the Trackstars Touring Cars series as well. But that was an excellent race. And certainly it was a race with plenty of drama. Great stuff from all involved. Great recovery from Lurox 22 there to get third position after what could have been a challenge for the race win. Of course, ended up in the wall at the death chicane, but recovered nicely. 19.9 seconds, a commanding victory from Spud in this first race of the season. It's Racing in second place. 19.9 seconds back, as we say. But he'll be happy with second place. He's not always had the best of form. Certainly the touring cars last year he struggled. But It's Racing with second place in his first race of the season. He'll be very happy with that. I think he'll be fairly pleased as well with the efforts of JMX to take 7th place. Although it looked very much to me as though JMX may well have lost that 6th place at the very end of the race. So what could have been very much, but JMX on very little notice, taking 7th place. As we said, Lurox and Blacko, they'll be very happy, as will RoboSport, of course, the patron of the RoboSport Racing team. They should be right up it in the team's consideration as well, given that Punts is there in 5th. Of course, with Mashed Spuds as well, it should be close between those two teams. Papa AT will be fairly happy with 6th place, but of course, he had a late mistake as well. Could have been a podium for him if he had kept it together. Could have been 2nd place, of course, if he hadn't had that late race error. As always, with Dragon Trail, it was a matter of staying on the track above all else, and no one did that better than NSpud P666. A great drive from him. Congratulations to everyone who did so well in that race. But it is this car whose rear wing we can see here, NSpud P666, taking the win in the first round of the Formula Trackstars series. Thank you everyone for being a part of it, and thank you everyone for joining in, says It's Racing in the chat. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in on the stream as well. What a brilliant start to the season. I'll be back here with more next week from the Formula Trackstars series. And, or not next week, sorry, from the Formula Trackstars. I should apologise. It's, of course, March 7th for the next Formula Trackstars race. It is the Austrian GP on March 7th. I got too accustomed there to the weekly format from the old Trackstars touring cars, of course, but it is not next week for these cars. It is, however, February 14th, the Dragon Trail 250 here at Seaside again next week for the Trackstars Touring Cars Championship, the EBM backed series, the EBM Trackstars Touring Car Series, starting here next week, same time. 2 races of 24 laps each, so it should be very interesting, I should say, to see how things go there. So that is what we have on the cards for February 14th. next week. A Valentine's Day spectacular for the Dragon Trail 250 here next week. So be sure to tune in to that. Be sure to tune in on the 7th of March for round 2 of the Formula Trackstars series. From myself, Adam Weller, and everyone here at Trackstars, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again very